Let's now shift our attention to the other big story that we are tracking on WION, where British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has ordered for a new national lockdown. The step has been taken to contain a surge in the COVID-19 cases that threaten to overwhelm the healthcare system. The announcement came just hours after the government hailed Britain's success in becoming the first country to roll out the vaccine developed by the Oxford University and AstraZeneca. Boris Johnson said that a new and a more contagious mutant variant of the coronavirus is spreading at great speed and immediate action is required. Now remember, the new strain of the coronavirus, which has now reached many parts of the world, was first recorded of in the United Kingdom.
It's clear that we need to do more together to bring this new variant under control while our vaccines are rolled out. In England, we must therefore go into a national lockdown which is tough enough to contain this variant. That means the government is once again instructing you to stay at home. You may only leave home for limited reasons permitted in law, such as to shop for essentials, to work if you absolutely cannot work from home, to exercise, to seek medical assistance, such as getting a COVID test, or to escape domestic abuse.
Now, under the revised rules and restrictions, non-essential shops and businesses in hospitality sector will have to shut down. The primary and secondary schools will also shut from Tuesday for all pupils, except the very vulnerable children and those whose parents are key workers, and for them there could be some special provision that is made in terms of daycare. Johnson pointed out that it will not be possible for all exams to be held this summer. This will of course be the second academic year in a row which will be affected due to the spread of COVID-19. Britain has the world's sixth highest COVID-19 death toll. More than 2,700,000 people have tested positive for COVID-19 and more than 75,000 people have also lost their lives in Britain. The officials say that while they acknowledge that COVID-19 is spreading more quickly than they had anticipated, there is light at the end of the tunnel: vaccinations. Meanwhile, Scotland has also announced a new lockdown. People in Scotland are now under legal requirement to stay at home. People have been ordered to stay at home in the month of January as authorities are ramping up efforts to try and curb the spread of COVID-19. The lockdown that's now been imposed is pretty similar to the one that was imposed in the month of March in 2020. People are not allowed to leave their homes except for absolutely essential purposes.
We have decided to introduce from midnight tonight for the duration of January a legal requirement to stay at home except for essential purposes. This is similar to the lockdown of March last year. Our fundamental advice for everyone is to stay at home. That is the single best way of staying safe. We consider that this stay-at-home message and advice is now so important that from tomorrow it will become law, just as it was in the lockdown last year. This means it will only be permissible to leave home for an essential purpose.
And WION's London Bureau Chief Mandy Clark, who's been tracking the story very closely for us, has sent us this report. Listen in.
Britain is straight back into a strict lockdown that will not lift until likely March, after Boris Johnson said the country faces a tough few months ahead because of rocketing COVID infections. Now, in an address to the nation, he confirmed that all primary and secondary schools will be closed as of today. Everyone living in England has been told to stay at home and only go out for one of 5 reasons: to work if it is impossible to work from home, to shop for essentials, to exercise, provide care, and for medical appointments. Now, the third national lockdown has been imposed to prevent the NHS from becoming overwhelmed. But the Prime Minister did give some hope. Boris Johnson insisted the deployment of the COVID vaccine would provide a route out of the lockdown. The Prime Minister says the NHS aims to vaccinate all the over 70-year-olds, frontline workers, and vulnerable people by mid-February. Now, that's a total of 13.2 million people to protect the health services from becoming overwhelmed. Meanwhile, in Scotland, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has confirmed the country will be placed in lockdown for the entirety of January, with the legal requirement to stay at home. Wales and Northern Ireland will likely have equally strong lockdown measures. Mandy Clark, World is One, WION, London.